What's up, y'all? Nice traders. Go to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so. Leave your comments, your thoughts in this video. Today, I got my acceptance to the Chicago Marathon. Obviously, it's for this year, 2026. One of my goals is to run a World Marathon Major, and with these World Marathon Majors, there's about 7 of them. They got New York, London, Sydney, Tokyo, Berlin, Boston, and Chicago. Right? Sydney was just added recently. But you got hundreds of thousands of people in the 5 digits, 40, 50,000, and they're all running for a different purpose, but they all overcame the adversity to get to the start line in the first place. And that's what I wanted to experience. I've done a marathon before, Kansas City Marathon, and that one's pretty tough. I never ever applied for Chicago, and thankfully I've got accepted my first time around. Boom. So I got the info on the packet pickup. There's my acceptance letter. It's pretty neat. Um, so whenever, or whether you run for charity or you do a non-guaranteed entry, it's still for a good cause. Um, you can go do fundraising or, a different charity. Uh, and we all get to run in the windy city. Hopefully, it's not the weather is not terrible, and there's nothing globally affecting Chicago or the United States in general during this time. But check this out: I ran a marathon on a whim with no training back in mid-November. Boom! I averaged 11:25 a mile, with most of it being in the 11s and the 10s. One of them was really slow, or actually the halfway point it was nearing 15, and the last mile was nearing 15. Only because had to wait for the stoplights, and it was pretty backed up on traffic. Uh, but I did a marathon with pretty much no training. At this point, I never ran more than um, 20 miles, and I was like, you know what, I could do it. It's only 13 miles times two. It's only what I got 4 hours. I got 3 hours. With this marathon I did on a whim, it makes so much uh, a difference, so much of a difference, because in an actual race, you have the aid stations, you have crowds cheering you on, you have people right next to you or around the same level as you, and you can kind of pace off of that and know have a strategy on how you want to run your race, and run how you feel, type of thing, and you have a plan. But at this point, I just had no plan. I was like, hey, I know I can do it. I didn't want to go out too fast because I had to carry out my water, and I ate, and I took electrolytes every 3 miles or so. So thankfully there was like no cramps, but I just went really slow, and just to do it, and I did, and I'm sure you can do, and I hope you do, especially this year. You do anything and everything that you want to, and not just this year, but whenever you make a goal and you talk about something and you say you want to do it, I hope and I wish you the best that you can actually do what it is that you want to do. I just wanted to try a world marathon major. I've never done it. I'm not a big avid runner, although I'm low key competitive, and so this is pretty good for the Chicago Marathon. And this is what 2 3 for me, anyways. Just 2 3 weeks out after the Pikes Peak Ascent and the Pikes Peak Marathon. And if you don't know, that's one of the hardest marathons I would say in the world. Obviously, relatively to like ultra marathons, the marathon's obviously shorter in distance, but for it being a marathon, the Pikes Peak Ascent and the marathon was one of the toughest, if not the toughest marathon in terms of elevation gain and loss. And it's pretty tough. You go up a 14,000 feet mountain like Pikes Peak, or any other mountain. It'll humble anyone, and two things will humble you, and like two big things: the mountains and the oceans. Shit's crazy. And so I get to run Chicago. Hope if you've ever applied for any of these other major marathons or races or competitions, it doesn't have to be a race. It could be what, a high rocks, a triathlon, or a strongman competition, arm wrestling, you know, combat sport competition with jiu-jitsu, sambo, uh, what, Greco and freestyle wrestling and all that. So like whatever you do, I hope you do well. And if it's your dream to compete, then fine. And this is my one of my goals. You know, I've done the Pikes Peak ascent twice in a row, and I expect and I hope to get better. That's all you can do. And so I hope you hit your goals. You know, subscribe if you haven't done so. That's all I'm saying. You know, it's like Andy Glaze says, your mom can run a 5K. It's crazy. So, hell yeah. I'll see y'all in the next one. I'm out.